Katie Moore is the new Community Relations Director for the Parish Library System, joining us here at the Hammond Library just after a really great show put on by a Civil War performer.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I was blown away, actually, about the presence here. Everyone was really excited and engaged, and it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it.
An example that in your job, you've really got a lot to work with, a lot of events.
Oh, absolutely. We have the summer reading program coming up, which is really exciting. Actually, May 2nd, we have comics and cupcakes, so free cupcakes and free comic books for Free Comic Book Day. So we have a lot of really cool things coming up, really exciting things.
When you talk about community relations, you know, people don't, in most cases, really know what their libraries have to offer these days.
Oh, absolutely. That is going to be my number one goal, is to go to the community and tell them what the library is doing and why we're such a value to the community.
Tell us, when you looked at the panoramic view of what the libraries here have, what struck you that you didn't realize they do?
Oh my goodness, the new A-Meat branch is just beautiful. It's really a beautiful building, modern, clean, and it's really, really nice space. We have meeting rooms, we have things for children, young adults. We have just so much at the A-Meat branch. It's wonderful, really beautiful building.
Of course, this Hammond Library branch, it's a former department store, and it's got a lot of room, and plus things you wouldn't expect, like free coffee.
Yes, absolutely. And every branch, I think, that we offer community coffee and tea, so pretty exciting.
And you mentioned the events that are coming up.
The free comic book and cupcake day. We have our summer reading program. After that, we have our free book sale. We have several things coming up right now.
You mentioned the summer reading program. That's probably the most popular thing that libraries do here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's going to be in every branch. It's going to be really exciting. There's tons of things from every age group to come and do and experience. It's going to be fantastic.
But for parents in particular, now is the time to plan to use the library resource over the summer to keep those little darlings occupied.
Absolutely. That is, yes, that would be the number one thing that I would want to do, is go to the library, release the children and let them have fun and experience, education, growth. That's going to be our number one goal, is to get those kids educated, but to have so much fun, and it's going to be really awesome. We're excited.
How can a person get more information?
You can go to our website at www.tangelibrary.com. You can visit our Facebook page, Twitter as well. We're on Twitter. And actually, we're going to add soon Instagram and Pinterest. So either one of those, you can go and visit our website through.
Civil War performer Bobby Horton came to the Hammond Library. Number one, the biggest crowd I've ever seen for an event here. And secondly, you really delighted this audience with your stories, your songs, if I may use the word, memorabilia of the Civil War.
There's so many stories. Each person that was in this thing had a story. In fact, even little kids that saw things have stories. And there's so many. It's which one do you choose? I've been studying this stuff and reading about it since I was a little boy. And the biggest problem I have when I do this program is which songs I leave out and which stories I'm going to tell, So I love them all. They're amazing people.
All of America was so affected by the Civil War, but in particular, where you're from, Alabama, and here in Louisiana, in the Deep South, you can't understand as if you don't know about the Civil War.
Well, that's exactly right, because, I could ride my bicycle as a kid to a place where an iron furnace was destroyed by Union cavalry in 1865, and then your grandparents talk about, Uncle so-and-so or Grandpa so-and-so, and who was at Shiloh or whatever, and you grow up with the stories. You can't help but be moved by it one way or the other.
Plus, you perform a lot of songs, and many of these songs would be quite familiar to a modern audience, though they didn't realize the origin.
That's exactly right. And all the songs that the soldiers sang and the people sang were not necessarily related to the war. They were just pop songs during the time, many minstrel tunes, my son, for example, the fella that's credited with writing Dixie, wrote a song, Old Dan Tucker. When he was 14 years old, Dan Emmett wrote Old Dan Tucker, and my grandson just yesterday performed Old Dan Tucker in a musical at school. And so, we still sing those old songs. But the fellow that wrote Dixie wrote Dan Tucker. And Dan is his name, and his Tucker was the name of his dog, and that's how he came up with Old Dan Tucker.
Many of us rediscovered the Civil War with the excellent series by filmmaker Ken Burns. And interestingly, you say that you work for Ken Burns.
I have been so blessed. Ken found me in right at the very end of production of Civil War. So I was not through, in Civil War as that much, because he found me. The editor of American Heritage magazine, Richard Snow, told him, he said, well, Ken, there's this guy in Alabama you need to listen to. And they came to me right at the very end of production. And so that was 1990 or 91. And I've been working for him ever since. I've been in 17 of his films. They're so savvy. I mean, some of them I've helped in the beginning, selecting music or offering suggestions. They make their own decisions. They're so savvy and so brilliant and so fun to work for. But they know what they want, and in that regard, they're very easy to work for. So it's just a thrill to be able to be part of their films, because Florentine they're so good. They're so good.
Well, you're really good friends with Barry Bradford, who is our Tangipahoa library director. So while he's on the other side of the building, okay, tell us about Barry Bradford.
Barry Bradford is as fine a playwright as I have ever seen. He took a subject which I did some music with in conjunction with him that would be very difficult, and he brought the white community and the black community together in Carrollton, Alabama, to celebrate this story and to perform his play. It was wonderful. He is so gifted and so talented. He's got the heart, and yet he has the skills, obviously, to write the screenplay. But oh man, he feels it. He's wonderful. He is absolutely wonderful.
I've often thought that in Virginia, if they had what we have in Alabama, Mississippi, or Louisiana as far as Civil War sites, they would really capitalize on it. As much money as Louisiana makes from tourism, we don't do much for the Civil War. It's always surprised me.
Well, I don't understand, because this is hallowed ground. To me, anytime patriots have spilled their blood, that ground is sacred to me. It's holy ground from that point forward.
Well, for example, where we're standing now probably was the exact route of the Grierson Raid, the biggest Union cavalry raid of the entire war, and therein hangs a wonderful story. There's not even a historical marker in Tangipahoa Parish.
That's unfortunate, because I remember that raid. John Wayne made it famous in his movie. What was that movie called? I don't remember, but they battled at Newton Station, Mississippi, and that was Grierson, and they came down all the way down through here. Yeah, that's right.
Where they really battled was Macomb and Magnolia and Osika, places that we're very familiar with. But again, go there. They don't have any historical markers either. It's amazing. Again, in Virginia, they'd be making a mint off of this stuff.
Well, really and truly. And I tell you, the problem with cavalry is they were moving. And, whereas you have a battlefield with infantry, you have breastworks, you have, you can see where the ground was depressed, where they mounted cannon, and made the embrasures, and you can see where the lines were. And unfortunately for cavalry, they're moving, and they don't leave anything behind. And that makes it harder.
Well, to say the least, a lot of really smart people are watching this, and they're thinking, boy, I wish I had been there. So how can a person get your CDs or avail themselves of what you have to offer?
Well, you can go to my website, which is bobbyhorton.com, and you can click on the music page and see there, and you can kind of see what I'm doing if you're so interested. I think I'm about as interesting as watching paint dry, but you can see what I'm involved in. It's on my website, but the music is listed there, along with where you can go to get it. You can get it on iTunes. You can download if you want to do that, or you can get the CDs from CD Baby and quite a few other locations off the internet. I think you can even get it through the website.
Barry Bradford was mixing business with pleasure. An old friend of his coming to the Hammond Library, Civil War performer Bobby Horton, and what a treat it was. In fact, of all the events you've had here at the Hammond Library, I think he drew the biggest audience.
I believe so. I think we had 103 people here tonight, which was fantastic, especially considering the rain and the kind of thunderstorms that were creeping through the area. So, yeah, I was delighted with the crowd.
For so many of us, Southerners in particular, the Civil War strikes a real chord, and well, it should, because you can't really understand our area if you don't know about the Civil War.
That's true. The Civil War, of course, I think is the seminal event in American history. It changed everything. And the South particularly has to deal with something that no other Americans do, and that is the fact that they not only were defeated, but they were an occupied part of the country, and no other Americans have ever really had to deal with that. So, the battlefields are down here. The dealing with the war psychologically, all that means that Southerners have to have a closer bond, I think, in some ways with that conflict.
I can't ask with a straight face why a library would have a program like this, because the answer is that anybody whose interest is piqued on the Civil War can undoubtedly get lots of books, and for that matter, DVDs and CDs here.
Oh my goodness, there is so much stuff about the Civil War, and we have a lot of it. We have DVDs, as you said. We have books, tons of books about many aspects of the Civil War. Lincoln, for instance, we have lots of biographies of Lincoln and various Civil War figures. We have music that you can download. We have documentaries you can check out. Yeah, we have a ton of stuff.
Well, meantime, what's next for you here at the library?
Well, we've got a program coming up on Saturday, May the 2nd, called Comics and Cupcakes. We're giving away free comic books. It's National Comic Book Day, Free Comic Day, and all of our libraries will be giving away comic books that day and cupcakes, free. And we also are going to encourage people to start signing up for the summer reading program, and it'll just be a fun time for people to come in, get a free comic and learn about our summer reading program, which is our next really big program here at the library.